My next guest, Malcolm L. Brenner, is on hold. Malcolm, I know you're listening, so hang in there, okay? I just want to do a little business, and I want to get you. I apologize for not reaching out to you, but Robert kind of ran over a little bit, and I was going to do the phone call thing. But you're here now. I see you, so don't go away, okay? We're going to bring Malcolm L. Brenner on in about a minute or so, and we're going to talk about his book. We're going to transition from working with energy and subtle fields and the ET connection, which apparently Robert had in a big way, and then we're gonna transition into Malcolm's very interesting story. And I promise I'm going to try to stay away from as many puns as possible, and respect his experience, because I think it's a fascinating one, and one that a lot of people haven't shared. This is Robert Phoenix. You're listening to the Friday Farcast. It's a great show today. It's the 30th of September. Big shout out to the chat room. I'm sorry to get in during that last interview, but I'm going to try to type a little bit and peep in there while Malcolm is on. See, this is when an assistant producer can really come in handy. But Janet's in there. She holds down the fort. She does a really good job of that. So props to Janet and everybody else there. And if you know what, if you like the show, if you like the experience, tell your friends about it. It's growing. We're having a good time, and we're learning a lot. And what we're about to learn is something very unique. We're about to learn what it's like to have a relationship with a being that's not a human. And I'm not talking alien. I'm talking a being right here on this planet, a dolphin, and not just any relationship, but a loving sexual relationship. We're going to find that out from Malcolm L. Brenner. So let's bring him right on the show. Here he is. Hello, Malcolm.
Hi.
Hey, thank you for calling in. My last guest ran a little over, and I was going to call you, but you're here now, and I want to thank you for doing that. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Robert, for having me on. Just one minor point. It's Malcolm J. Brenner.
My apologies, Malcolm J. Brenner. My apologies, Malcolm J. Brenner.
No
okay. I was a couple of letters off, but we got it straight, Malcolm J. Brenner. So, Malcolm, you're the author of Wet Goddess. And when did Wet Goddess come out? When did it hit the stands, so to speak?
It hit the stands early last year.
Early last year. And so did you self-publish this book? Or, I mean, I don't know a lot about the publication itself, and we're going to find out more about it. Did you self-publish?
Yeah, I self-published. I founded my own little company here to do that.
Did you try to pitch this to any other publishers before you self-published?
Oh, yeah. I've been down many roads with it. At one point, the dolphin researcher, John C. Lilly, had his agent looking for a publisher for it. Couldn't find any. Publishers can't decide who the audience is, who they would market it to, which genre it fits into. You know, if you can't pigeonhole a book these days, how can you market it? And if you can't market it, you can't sell it. So I decided to do it myself because I have just barely adequate skills. And the book seems to be finding its niche.
Well, I got to tell you,
it's selling like hotcakes right now.
I found out about it. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. I found out about it in a really strange place. I'm a football fan, and I was on a forum that talks about the 49ers. It's a 49er forum, and there's a lot of really interesting, eclectic characters on this forum. And we've been posting to each other for years. And there's this one guy who's quirky, and he put a link to your story. And really? I thought, this is really fascinating. And so, of course, because I have my blog and my show, I thought this would be perfect to try to reach out and find you and have you on. And so I discovered you through really unusual means. Although I might have been talking about the Miami Dolphins at the time. I don't know. So let's talk about your experience. Okay, now from what I understand, you were a photographer, and were you working at kind of an aquatic theme park or a rescue situation?
No, I was a student at New College of Florida in Sarasota.
Okay.
When I was asked by a woman who was a writer to take some photos for a book she wanted to write about the dolphins in this little amusement park in a little town called Nokomis. It was about 20 miles south of Sarasota, and I got introduced to the head trainer and his staff, and introduced to all the dolphins, and I got pretty much carte blanche to go and visit the park whenever I wanted to. So I wasn't.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah, you get to hang out with the dolphins.
Yes. And of course, like everybody else who gets the chance to hang out with dolphins, I wanted to go swimming with dolphins.
Right. So you go into
cool.
So you go. So you're in the tank or the pool, and so describe the moment where you like. By the way, what was the dolphin's name?
Well, my book is a novel. I should explain that to your listeners, and it's based on my experience. So the name I'm using for her, all the names have been changed, of course, for legal reasons. The name I'm using for her in the novel is Ruby.
Okay, Ruby. So take everybody back in time and talk. Can you talk about your connection with Ruby and what was that like?
Yeah, she was a very special dolphin. At the time, she was not in a tank or a pool. She was in a sea level pen that opened directly into the intercoastal waterway down here, which is the next thing to the Gulf of Mexico. And several times a day she went out and she did a show where she would swim alongside of a riverboat and jump for fish from her trainer, who stood up on the second story of this boat. And it was quite athletic and quite a demanding performance to watch because everything was moving. The boat was moving, she was moving. So I began to wonder, why does she come back? And that was the first of many questions I had about the dolphin. How did I get acquainted with her? Well, as I said, like everybody else, I wanted to go swimming with the dolphins, and this was the dolphin that they would let people go swimming with because she was believed by her trainer to be the most gentle dolphin in the place. Most of the rest of the dolphins that he caught for some reason, or the ones that he kept there, were pretty rowdy male dolphins. So Ruby, being a female, was thought to be more gentle.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I got in the water with her, it was cold. It was like March or sometime like that, and colder down here than you would think for Florida. But I was wading in the water, and she swam up beside me, and the water was about up to my waist. And I started rubbing her head, just scratching her. Dolphin's skin is constantly flaking off, and they love to have people rub them because it helps get rid of the old skin that's ablating from their surface.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was scratching her head, she slowly swam forward and slowly rolled until I was scratching her belly. And then I was scratching her erogenous zones, and that's where she stopped. And I said to myself, I can't do this. I'll go back to her scratching her head. And she repeated the same process again. That was the first time that I began to feel a little uncomfortable with what she was doing.
Mm-hmm. So she was obviously experiencing pleasure.
It certainly seemed like it to me. I mean, she certainly wasn't in any pain.
Right. So she's kind of flipping over and says, "Hey, big boy, start moving the dead skin away from this area again." And so that was your first time. And did it go any further, or what happens next?
Well, what happened next was a series of gradually escalating moves on her part that were more and more. At first, they were more and more physical, more and more aggressive.
Right.
She would, if I got out in deeper water to try to swim with her, she would rub herself very vigorously against any, bony protrusion of my body. Now, I should explain as neatly as I can for any of your listeners out there that are not familiar with this fact. Dolphins are not fish. They are mammals. They are warm-blooded. They breathe air. They suckle their young, and they have all the same genital equipment as we do, just slightly differently arranged for purposes of streamlining.
Right.
So when a female dolphin rubs what's called her genital slit against you, it's stimulating to her.
Right, absolutely. And now, is it true that dolphins are the only? And maybe it'll throw whales in here. I'm not sure, but I was having dinner with somebody with some friends the other night, and one of the people at dinner said that dolphins are the only animals besides humans that have sex for pleasure. Is that true?
I think all animals are having sex for pleasure. I certainly don't think they're thinking about reproduction when they're having sex.
But they don't necessarily have sex to reproduce, though. Am I right?
I wouldn't make that broad of a generalization about it. I would say mostly sex behavior is for reproduction. Yeah, but the thing about dolphins is, which makes them similar to us, is that they have sex for social reasons.
Right. That's what I was trying to articulate.
Right. The late Dr. Ken Norris, who was a very conservative and well-renowned dolphin researcher, said that dolphins have sex the way human beings shake hands.
Interesting.
It's a social gesture for them.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure that they don't. If you think about it, there's not a lot of convoluted and twisted morality around their experience, right? They don't. Their social codes are probably very different than ours, which are tied into a lot of religious history.
Right. Exactly. I've been reading over blogs and things like that a lot in the past couple of weeks since the story really went viral. And I've seen a lot of people say, well, bestiality is wrong, but nobody is saying why it's wrong. And why it's wrong is because basically we're told it's wrong in the book of Leviticus in the Bible.
Right.
And that piece of archaic Judaic law has become, basically fixated in our culture as a piece of secular law without anybody really being able to say, why is it wrong?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let me get back into your mindset here. As your relationship with Ruby develops, what are you thinking? Are you growing fond of her? Are you getting turned on by her? What's going on in your head at that time?
A lot of different things were going on in my head depending on the circumstances. One of the things that was going on is that I was thinking that I was having telepathic contacts with her when I was not down at the park. It was like she basically had established some kind of a link between us, and now she could enter my world and see things through my eyes and observe the human world almost as if she was a probe of some kind. It was a very bizarre feeling that I sometimes got. The other thing was that she intensified her physical efforts to get me aroused or to arouse herself or to do both. One time I met a young woman that I really wanted to impress. I thought, I'll take her down to the park and she can go swimming with the dolphins. She loved the idea. She was so hot for it. So we get down there, and the dolphin that they'll let me take her swimming with is Ruby. And when this young woman gets in the water with Ruby, Ruby swims up to her, stares deep into her eyes, lifts her head out of the water, and gnashes her snout into the side of the young woman's face. It was not a good scene.
Holy Moses. Wow.
No. The dolphin was jealous.
Yeah, sure. So was the
proceeded. Yeah?
Was the woman hurt? Was she injured? What happened?
No, she wasn't injured. I threw myself into the water and grabbed the dolphin. I've often thought about that gesture. I think most people would have grabbed the woman, but then who would be restraining the dolphin? I grabbed the dolphin and basically held on to her while the young woman got out of the pool, and the dolphin began rubbing off against me. So there in the water with this horny dolphin, on the shore, this poor young woman that I was trying so hard to impress and had totally blown it because the dolphin figured out who she was and got jealous.
So Ruby said, I'm going to take care of that bitch, right? Like,
yes, in so many words.
That's wild stuff. Okay, all right. So you did not get lucky with your human companion that night. I'm assuming, right? I didn't
ever get lucky with her, as it turned out. But
all right. So
yeah.
I'm going to ask you a really explicit question now. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So here you are. You're in the water with Ruby. What was it like when you got an erection with her? Right. I'm sure you had an erection. What was that like for you? And what crossed your mind when that happened?